75 though.
Okay.
It's 7 p.m. We're going to call the meeting to order at this time, and we're going to begin with a prayer for guidance. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the occasion to meet tonight, the cause for celebration tonight, and honor being given. You said to give honor to those whom honor is due, and we do that tonight. Pray that you would continue to honor and bless and protect all of those that serve us, many of whom are in this room right now. Thank you for their willingness to sacrifice and to serve the rest of us. Pray, Lord, we take that same spirit into our neighborhoods, into our churches, our schools, and into the work that we do here at the township. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
You can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'd ask our clerk to verify the roll.
All members are present.
Thank you. Number 5, is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Who's supported? Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Communication letters and reports that all of you received for information is item number 6, which leads us quickly into item 7. And we've got a pretty good sized group tonight. Perhaps there's someone who came this evening to address the board on matters related to agenda items. So different than the celebration we're going to have here shortly. If anyone wants to come and speak to any of our agenda items, this would be the time to do so. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Identify your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm a veteran. It's good. And my kids made comments too. I don't know if they'll get back from looking for books quickly enough to share their thoughts. But my name is Liz City. I live on Williamstown Drive in Georgetown Forest, and I'm here tonight to speak in favor of expanding the playground equipment in Rush Creek Park, inclusive of all the equipment that has been recommended by the committee. I just came from the Denison School Board meeting where they were recognizing we have a different name in Wyoming, the inclusive basketball team, what is it called?
I don't know what they call it.
All right. So we, as a community, we have affirmed that we support including members of our community who may have different physical abilities in our community life, and they've been celebrated up at the JCA. And this new playground that's been proposed is also celebrating inclusion by asking us to have a swing that is usable for wheelchairs. I can tell you in Georgetown Forest, we have neighbors who are wheelchair dependent. There's a young man named Jacob who goes for walks around the neighborhood and socializes with us. He'll ask, what is in your garden this year, or how's your day going? And I can think that as his parents, I would have loved when he was younger for him to be able to do that alongside his peers on a playground. We also have another family in our neighborhood who has 2 children who have a neurodegenerative disorder or syndrome. And there they are. And they are very active in advocacy for their kids' futures, for their kids' lives. And I can imagine as a parent, if when I'm home and my kids want to go to the park, after I've been fighting the world on the outside, if I know my neighborhood includes me and my kids, that would be a very meaningful experience. So I urge you all to approve all of the playground equipment this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unified sport.
Unified.
Yep, unified sport.
Welcome.
I could probably just take it out while Jane just hold it.
My name is Jane, and I live in Georgetown Forest. I think it would be an amazing idea to add a playground for disabled kids because I want our park to be a safe environment for everyone. And if we add this new playground, it will make our park accessible to anyone. Also, the playgrounds are already old and worn down, and many things there don't work anymore, so they already need to be replaced soon. That is why I think it would be an excellent idea to make this new playground. Thank you.
Wow, well said.
Thank you. My name is Micah, and I have come here tonight because my idea for the compost center got me second place in the regionals for the National Civics Bee, and I am going to be moving on to the state round later this summer. But tonight I am talking to you because I think that adding accessible playground equipment for everyone will be extremely reliable for everyone in the community to be able to get together and have fun. Thank you.
Future leader right there. All right, next. Yes, sir.
Good to see you guys again. My name is Matt Johnson. I'm here on behalf of the Rosewood Safe Speed Neighborhood Coalition, formed back in December when the speed limit, as you know, on our road was changed. We appreciate your support in getting this resolution on the agenda tonight. We have a couple members from the neighborhood that are here tonight joining us. As we get to item 11, we just want to clarify one piece of the language here, that what we understand is that the speed study can be conducted on a half-mile specific stretch of Rosewood. And so I think the language in there says from 28th to 36th, there would be one speed study and then a separate study from 28th down to 12th. But the 28th to 36th section is a mile, and there's a huge difference in distinction between that half mile from 28th to Camrose and from Camrose up to 36th. So we want to be sure that's where that hill is. So we want to be sure that the study is specifically on that half-mile stretch that we're talking about, which is the spot where the road commission came and put the sign in. That is where the hill and curve exist and dramatically changes the nature of the road. So between 28th and 36th, that full mile on Rosewood is not all the same and should not be treated the same. So if we could clarify on the language, just that section just east of Camrose going west toward 36th, that's the specific section we're talking about. Happy to answer any other questions or anything on that. But we look forward to your support of that resolution tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in the first public comment period? I know we have some that plan to speak with the second public comment period, and if you've spoken already, you can speak then as well. Is there any more for this first one, though, just with agenda items? All right, seeing none, we will close that initial public comment period. Item number 8 on the agenda, which is our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion among the board? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Approved. All right. Item 9, now is our opportunity to honor Deputy Chief Gene DeWitt for his 50 years of service, and he'd like to come first and address the board. So, Gene, please.
I don't know if I could follow these young people that did an awesome job. Most of you know I've retired from the fire service after 50 years of service. So I come before you tonight just to say thank you. Thank you to the board, manager, assistant manager. Thank you to the previous chiefs I had that worked with me through these years, 36 years as a captain, 7 or 8 years as assistant deputy chief. When you call the fire department, you don't only get a bunch of guys that you have back here that have studied hard, worked through training, did their MFR, emergency medical training, but we also get a bunch of talented young people, men and women that are plumbers, electricians, builders, paramedics, and they're all assets on the fire scene. Not just put the fire out, but any kind of odd things that we might have. I mean, if you need the fire department for anything, we're always there. We've done floods, we've done rescues, we've done dives. Anytime you need something done in the community, and we're glad to do it, it's to call Georgetown Fire Department, a committed, very well committed group of 60 people. It's been an honor and privilege to work for this organization. My father was one of the starting members. I found an old certificate of his, and he did fire training in 1956. That was shortly after the department started, and I found some things that said that the Genesis Christian School back in the day, I think actually donated the little piece of property that they were on where the township library and the fire station were kind of a combination for a little while. And I think they ended up paying $1 for it or something through the Christian school that helped them out there. And my dad was on that, and he served district chief for 5 years, and I was able to work with him for about 5 or 6 years before he retired. And then, 20 years later, I've got my son on, who's a firefighter, captain, inspector, and now chief, which I'm very proud of. And, another 20 years goes by, and I've got my grandson, also now a firefighter, with Georgetown and full-time for Wyoming, which just makes me feel good all over. Please continue to support these firefighters and their families like I have in the past. It is a big commitment, not only on just them, but their families. We get a few Christmases that we miss opening presents on time because we were mutual aiding somebody getting a car out of the river on Christmas afternoon. A few years ago, we had to put our turkeys on standby because of a fire that we had over there on Chicago Drive. I've left my wife multiple times at the grocery store with a cart of groceries, and they managed to hang in there with us yet. We're still married after 50-some years, too. It takes a special breed to make this commitment. The brotherhood and everything that you formed with these firefighters, it's just amazing. It builds lasting friendships, along with a great deal of pride. And I, again, thank you for your support, all of you. I know we got a ladder truck coming in that's going to be well needed, and thank you for your support on that. And hopefully it just continues. And not only just firefighters, but families also. It's a special breed of 60 people out of the 55,000 people we got in the township. So as most of these guys know, that my last line on my text or emails is usually, I always say to them, is like, these guys, thank you for your support. Thank you.
Stay right there if you would a moment. So is this a difficult thing for you, Gene?
It is. When I had to take my light bar off and found out that I had a back seat in my truck again while the year was gone, I don't really miss going out in the middle of the night. Like, they've had a few calls lately that they've had to get out there, but just the camaraderie and going down the station and that kind of thing, I'm going to miss that. So.
Certainly no pressure on any board members, so this is the opportunity. If you want to say anything, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I'm going to have a presentation before you sit down. So, anyone?
Gene, what a wonderful job you've done for us. You've been an anchor. And being on the services committee, we were able to come to your Christmas celebrations, and the camaraderie and the fun that they display. They care about each other. It's a family. And that comes from leadership. And you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate it, and the commitment from these men and women that have served us.
Thank you for all that you've done and everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
I can remember when the old fire station was next to the Johnson Christian School there on Church Street.
Yep.
And if the fire horn went off,
fired on top,
we'd all start looking towards Sunoco.
Guys,
Bernie Backus would come flying out of Marathon, your dad would come out of Sunoco, and you guys would come driving down there and watch the fire trucks go out.
That's another part of it that I didn't even mention too, is we got to support businesses that let people leave their works during the day. I mean, my wife and I tried to count up, I think we've had probably 9 employees at DeWitt's Auto and Dennis and Sunoco over the years that have left, and sometimes there were 2 or 3 of them had to flip the coin. It's like, okay, who gets to go to this one? Because somebody's got to stay there and keep working. Between my dad, myself, Chief DeWitt used to work there for a little bit too, and my brother was on for a while, and so we had the whole family there and leaving. And of course, we had a lot more businesses around than the station was right there. So Steve the barber was on for 40 years. He retired a few years back, and so, yeah, it's good to recognize the businesses that are allowed to let their guys go to come to run fire, especially during the day.
Our fire and first responders are people that you don't think about until you need to call upon their services. Right. I have the echoey microphone, but it takes a lot of dedication to do a job for 50 years.
And it's very obvious how important that job has been to you, and it's obvious in the support from the other firefighters that are here and from everything that we've ever heard about your leadership. You've led a very distinguished career and lengthy, so thank you so much for your service to all of us.
Thank you, Becky.
Okay. Well, we would like to take this moment, if you could stay here, and just present you on behalf of the board and the township with this plaque. Before I do, I just want to thank all of you who came tonight to support Chief. I'm sure there are others that wish they could have been here. If you're a family member here tonight, you're related to any of these folks or to Gene, we thank you as well. You came, usually we have cookies, you came in without cookies, so you know you came for this guy right here. But it says, GT presented to Gene DeWitt in sincere appreciation for 50 years. 50 years. Who stays anywhere or does something 50 years anymore?
Besides marriage.
Huh? Besides marriage. How many years?
What are we up to, Dave? 54?
Yeah.
We honor you too. We thank you for allowing him to do these things. But 50 years, in the handful of years I've been here, we've had people that have retired at 45. We had another one, I think, close to 50. We've had a number over 30. I mean, that's a lot of longevity, which is quite remarkable, I think, for any organization. It speaks well of those that work here and their dedication. So it says here, in sincere appreciation for 50 years of dedicated service to the Georgetown Township Fire Department and the residents of Georgetown Township. Once a firefighter, always a firefighter. Congratulations and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite those who come tonight to come up for a group picture and to stand behind Gene. Gene, if you could move up a little bit and just sort of fill in behind him. You don't have to, but you'd be welcome to. It'd be nice. And board members, if you wish, again, if you stand, you'll be above them and probably be seen in the picture as well.
Officers in the front.
You gonna stand? Sure, let's stand. Yeah, I gotta go down.
You're not on the counter.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
So work around some of these big guys.
Good.
Hang on. Do we have one for the township, Justin, or somebody can just quick snap one?
Yeah, Rob and Justin, get in there. Get in there.
All right, thank you. I'm just saying you have a reception now, so you're welcome to leave. You're not being rude. We appreciate you coming, so thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. This time we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, which is the 2023 audit fiscal statements for the year ending December 31, 2023. This isn't really something we're looking to vote upon, but rather to get a report about. So I will look to our manager, Rob.
Yes, thank you. I will be brief, but I want to let you know that the 2023 audit came in, a very good audit with no issues, which is a testament to our staff, especially our accountant, Christy Hackney. So a very clean audit, and I'll just point out a few numbers here. There's plenty in the 30-some pages of report, which will be posted on the website tomorrow. And they break it out, general fund, They break it out into three categories, but really just go to the total government expenses. Just want to show you that those increased by 3% over 2022, which actually is a little under inflation for 2023, which my research shows at 3.4. So a 3% increase year over year for general fund. Water sewer fund expenses increased by 6.4%, and that's primarily due to our increased cost of purchasing water and sewer services through Granville. So as those prices go up, our costs go up as well. This resulted in a general fund unrestricted fund balance increase by just over $960,000, bringing our general fund unrestricted balance to just over $13 million. On the water sewer side, our unrestricted net position, which is what they call the fund balance because it's a different type of fund, increased by over $2.4 million in 23, bringing the balance to $19.6 million. Other than that, very, very straightforward. Another good audit for us. And again, a testament to our employees and to Christy with their very, very good work. Any questions for me?
Rob, was part of the water sewer increase at all ARPA funds? I know we're always talking about ARPA went here and ARPA went there, but is that part of that line item?
Yes. So we used some ARPA dollars for lift station upgrades, so those were in there. But of the 665 increase, 400,000 plus was that just increase on our purchases of water and sewer services. So that's, we do get the benefit on the revenue side, but that's just showing the expense side. But some ARPA funds were used. So you would see that on the expenditure side for capital improvements, and we utilize some ARPA dollars for those.
What portion of water sewer balance there is dedicated toward 48th and things upcoming, if you know, roughly?
It could be all of it. Originally the project was estimated at $14 million. The bids came in, and phase one is $1 million over budget already. So we are going to need those dollars for the 48th Main project. But we're comfortable that our rate increases will help build that budget or build that fund so we have the dollars to continue to take care of our infrastructure. Other questions?
Do you project our net position to be even higher for water and sewer now that the rates went up a little bit? Can we project it probably significantly higher next year?
It's hard to tell because, again, the increases from our purchases from Wyoming and Granville continue to go up. In fact, just this week, we got a notification from Granville that sewer rates are going up 16.5%. And water rates are going to go up as well because they have infrastructure needs at the sewer plant and infrastructure needs the Wyoming water treatment plant. So I'm comfortable we will, but we don't have control of those wholesale prices. We are bound by those costs, and we just got the sewer increase for 24-25, almost 17%. So I'm confident, but we have to see how that goes.
What was the increase previous year?
I don't know.
Oh, how about the year before that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
but I can get you that.
We make a profit. In 2021, our net position increase was $1.5 million for water and sewer, and in 22 is $1.1 million. So we're always consistent, maybe between $1 and $2 million water and sewer net position increase every year profit. General fund, $2 million this year, $2.2 million net position increase last year, $3 million net position increase 2021, which is always the average of $2 to $3 million.
But net position is not the same as unrestricted. So our unrestricted fund balance went up where is it? Our unrestricted, 960,000. So the rest of that is attached to something, whether it's for the next year's budget or other restrictions. So $13 million is our clear general fund total to date.
How much cash are we sitting on total right now? Money market, CDs, everything combined?
Oh, we're 30+ million, Justin?
Right there, 13 and 19, right?
No, don't equate that to cash, because again, our cash balances fluctuate throughout the year, whether we're collecting taxes, et cetera. So when we're collecting taxes, our cash balance can be over 70 million, but that goes out in 10 days. So right now we're sitting at 30+ million, all funds, general fund and water sewer. But cash does not mean it's unassigned or unrestricted. So don't confuse those numbers with our cash with what is available to use.
What are some of the things that it's earmarked for?
The current year budget. So in the appropriations budget for 24, we have 1.7 of fund balance allocated to have a break-even budget. So that's one. Accounts payable, those types of things, because we're an accrual type basis. So things that are owed, or sometimes fund balance or cash is converted into capital assets. That's why it's not cash. It's a fund balance. What's important to remember here is 13 million and 19.6 are basically available, whether it's general fund and water sewer.
So how much do we still owe their commitment to the Itemized Explorers Trail?
For the what?
Itemized Explorer Trail. I know Itemized Explorer Trail. I know that we've invested, I want to say it's $450,000 so far. Was it $1 million commitment from previous boards?
No, I think it's higher than that. I think we're $200,000 to $300,000 on that balance, but I can get that for you.
You think we're what, Rob?
I think we're still $200,000 to $300,000 owed to that project.
That's not a huge financial liability. And then other than that, big stuff coming down the road. I know there's discussion of a possible pickleball court, $1 million. Any other big
Well,
ones?
that's up to the board members, not me. So.
Right, I'm just looking for that 13 million that we have in cash is where we could possibly spend that in our budgets consistently year after year after year. There's no big surprises. And what's our increase in property tax every year from new home builds?
I can tell
homes
you
exchanging
our increase in property tax revenues in 23 were 7.5%.
So it's pretty consistent. It's usually about 8% increase. So it's that keeps going up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the inflation is, an issue. But when that keeps rising, that's the same thing. What is projected revenue sharing, state revenue sharing? Have they given us any numbers for?
I can get you the 24 numbers, but it's all estimated. So look at the 24 budget, 23 actual. That'll give you a good idea.
Yep. So it's typically 5 to 7 million revenue sharing each year.
Are you asking me?
I think
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can. Right. You look at 23 and look at 24 budget. It'll be close.
For those that are here tonight observing, there is a link to the auditor's report that you can go home and look up on your computer, and it's pretty in depth. There is, as you might have noticed here tonight, and there is each time we have an agenda, there's the approval of bills that you can connect with just through your meeting agenda online. And so total accessibility to you as residents to the numbers and the budget and the expenditures of the township. And if you ever need to go deeper, then we've got people, as you can tell, that can go deeper with you. So, anyone else? All right, appreciate that report, Rob. Item 11 then, Rosewood Speed Study. Is there a motion to approve the resolution for a speed study at Rosewood?
So moved.
Support. Okay.
The language to discuss the half-mile segment. So I think some language maybe and or half-mile segments.
Okay, I won't sign this part. It's the second. Give you the second paragraph.
Now therefore be it resolved.
Could be under the, the now therefore, don't you think?
It seems like we could, a speed study on Rosewood Street from 12th to 28th, from 28th to Camrose, and from Camrose to 36.
Yeah.
Said well, all right. Did you catch that?
What was it?
Should I make a motion officially to amend it? I would make a motion to amend the resolution that has been presented to us. I don't know procedure, so correct me if that was out of line or whatever. But I would want the paragraph that starts with the words, now therefore be it resolved. The third line down, and speed study on Rosewood Street from 12th Avenue to 28th Avenue, from 28th Avenue to Camrose, and from Camrose to 36th Avenue.
Second to that motion?
Second.
Yeah. Moved and seconded?
Yes.
Any discussion about this amendment?
This roll call, correct?
So last week, I got a new truck, and on my truck, at the speedometer, it tells you what the speed limit is of the road that you're on. So I ran up Rosewood, and if you leave, ran from 28th Avenue to Camrose, my truck says the speed limit's 40 miles an hour. And from Camrose to 36, my truck says 25 miles an hour. I thought that was interesting because they say it's not, but on my own vehicle, somewhere along the line, that information is out there that that speed limit should be 25. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. I just heard one. I thought I'm going to run down this road just to see how this works because that's what it said. Well, it's on the internet, so it's got to be true.
Ryan, you're a scrivener on this one. You good with it? Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. Okay. So we have in 3 segments or 4 segments? Because we still have the Rosewood to 12. Rosewood to 12, 28th to Camrose.
It's all Rosewood.
36.
It's all Rosewood. It's
all Rosewood, yeah.
12 to 28, 28 to Camrose, and then Camrose to 36.
Got it.
Procedurally, something that's a roll call and then is amended, does the amendment have to be roll call also?
Roll call it regardless.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Unless there's further discussion on the amendment? Wait. Okay, hearing none on the amendment only then, clerk, would you take roll?
Ms. Schwam?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Clerk is a yes. Supervisor?
Yes.
Treasurer?
Yes.
Mr. Belding?
Yes.
Ms. Graffman?
Yes.
7.
All right, great. So now the motion as amended is before the board. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, now we're going to vote on the overall amended resolution.
All right, we'll go back to Graffman.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Belding?
Yes.
Treasurer?
Yes.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Clerk is a yes. Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. Schwam?
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, 7-0. Thank you. Thank you. Safety is important. All right. Item number 12, plate readers at park exits. This came out of Services Committee. Is there a motion to install plate readers at 8th Avenue Park, Maplewood Park, and Rosewood Park, not to exceed $15,000?
I'll make that motion on behalf of Services Committee.
And I will support that.
Okay, moved and supported. Anything Services wants to add in the way of context? I know we've had kind of more than our share of issues here of late.
Yeah, they said that the price of the cameras would really pay for itself, that it really wouldn't cost us money in terms of with all the vandalism and damage and stuff like that, that they can go after the people that caused the damage. So, and that would pay for the repairs of anything. So we thought that it was important to do that, and it was recommended by everyone. And actually, Ryan, you kind of talked us into it too, in a way. So I wasn't sure because, it's a park is a family place, and but there's cameras pretty much everywhere nowadays. So we might as well have them and have them work for us. So
And to piggyback on that, we said Ryan kind of talked us into it just for clarity. There was a meeting I was gone at.
Yes.
Ryan served in my place. That's when the conversation started. So it wasn't a quorum that was making secret backroom deals or something. But when we were looking at this idea of license plate cameras, these are the parks that already have infrastructure in place where it would be a pretty simple plug-in to existing infrastructure, which is kind of why it limited our scope to 8th, Maplewood, and Rosewood to begin.
Rod Dietzer said it would be very helpful, and that it would, our cameras frequently do not pick up license plates and that type of thing, so it would help with identifying vandalism.
I ultimately look at ROI. When it comes to something like this, I think it was a year ago when we had Maplewood, we had to replace the little bubble part on because somebody took a hammer to it. Then we just had the recent issues in Rosewood, and it
did it again. It did it again.
So
different people, but yeah.
Each time, Michael and I sign those checks that we're paying for the damage. The break even is a lot better. And I also look at this too, where it's a liability thing too. So like, if we know kind of potentially if there's something had occurred in one of our parks, that's just another way that maybe we can identify and work with the police in these things. So.
Hopefully it'll be a deterrent.
Yeah.
You know, especially if we have signs too that say cameras, you know, surveillance or whatever.
So camera expert, what K are we talking here?
I don't know. I don't know exactly which ones they
ultimately
decide on, but.
Okay. I know, I thought there was discussion, I don't remember if you were subbing for that service committee, Ryan, but plate readers at our ballot drop boxes.
We discussed that and decided to not forward it to the board at this time due to cameras that are already at the drop boxes. Looking at what is coming and going from them, and services committee feeling like those drop boxes are a secure situation at this point, so services did not forward that to the full board for any sort of action, but we did discuss it.
So those cameras can read plates, the current drop box cameras?
I'm not saying that, but we felt like the drop boxes were supervised well enough because of their location and because of staff frequency at those locations that we felt like they were secure without moving forward with those at this time. But certainly a future services committee could make a different recommendation.
I just wonder if there was a bulk price if we were to add 3 more.
Heather had addressed our committee also, and we'd asked her specifically about security with the drop boxes and how the general public reacts to it.
Who's Heather?
Amber.
I'm sorry, Amber.
Hey, I was just
I'm sorry.
Amber?
New employee?
Did that earlier this week.
Don't call her late.
Many people are concerned that they're being photographed when they drop their ballots, and can there be some discernment? Can you decide how someone voted? And that people do contact the township and express concerns in that direction. And so that was one of the reasons that we decided not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're currently recording it?
We are currently correct me if I'm wrong, Amber, but we currently have recording of what goes in and comes out as far as like our staff taking stuff out of the drop box. But we're not recording cars that pull up and drop off.
Outside camera that records the cars that come in to drop off in the drop box, and then we have an inside camera that records the people removing stuff. So that's for the drive-up one. We also have outside and inside cameras for both of the fire stations that are walk-up. There's one outside to watch the person walk up to deposit the ballot, and then there's one inside to see us removing those ballots from that drop box.
We do have a camera out, correct, on the library? Because we had, finance had to approve that because they didn't do that in the construction, so we're recording them.
We're just not specifically reading license plates because we felt like that is pretty obtrusive because in theory, somebody then could connect my license plate number with the ballot that I dropped in, and that feels like an escalation versus videotaping.
The anonymity of vote.
Yeah. So that was the reason that services made the decision that they did to recommend these plate readers to the board for approval for the 3 parks, but to not take action at this time related to further cameras at ballot boxes.
Amber, at this time, we meet all of the government regulations. The plate reader would be going way above.
More than these requirements, the requirement only requires one camera per drop box. It didn't specify where it had to be. So for us, we decided we would put one outside and one inside so we can see both and what state out. So we already built up what the requirements are.
And people have talked to you about their concern of being identified.
Yep.
Let me just look at the protecting a $2,500 drinking fountain as opposed to election integrity.
But it sounds like we're doing both, I hope.
Yeah.
That's the impression I get.
I don't feel like it's an either or, and I also wholeheartedly trust our local clerks and our county clerks and don't have concerns about the safety of our elections. I already feel like they're knocking it out of the park to make them free and fair.
I will say too that our plate reader at the parks, we're not recording and building a database with that. It's strictly just recording it. If we don't access it, it just gets rewritten over. So as far as security issues might have, we're not keeping that. We're not recording plates. It's strictly video that gets rewritten over. Only if there's an incident of vandalism that we will go back and look at the tape and then see that license plate. So there's no, we're not big brothering.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? If not, we're going to proceed here then. This is not a resolution, so all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We got an 8th vote there. All right, make that 8-0, please, clerk. All right.
I was just trying to figure out what motion we were voting on because we went from being leaders at a park to voting on cameras on a vote box. I don't know. I was just trying to.
Item 13, playground replacement at Rush Creek Park. Is there a motion to install a new playground and handicap accessible swing at Rush Creek Park to not exceed $350,000 as recommended by services?
I'd make that motion.
Yes. Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Discussion among the board.
I'll happily kick off this conversation and then the other services people can chime in with all the pieces that I missed. We looked at a number of different playground structure options and felt strongly with Rod Deemster's input that the Little Tykes playground as a piece of equipment stands up to the elements and stands up to wear and tear in a really quality way. And so that was the type of equipment that we wanted to move forward with. That said, with Little Tykes, there's only one vendor. It's a sales rep in West Michigan sort of situation. And so there was not the flexibility to get alternate bids for the same product. But we felt like this was the best product on the market for our parks. And so that is the recommendation coming from services. In addition to the Little Tykes playground structure, we are also recommending the purchase of a WeGo swing, which is really cool because children or adults in wheelchairs can sit on it and then swing with peers who are perhaps not confined to wheelchairs or who are. And so I loved this for the idea of wheelchair-bound parents that don't have a way to swing and push and things like that with their own children, but also for wheelchair-bound children to be able to swing with their parents or peers. The estimate that the number that Rod Deemster had kind of brought to services was about $300,000. And ultimately the motion that we sent to the board was a not to exceed number of $350,000. And so to explain that, I just want to make sure that we've noted that it will need to be professionally constructed once it gets to us. And there was some unknowns as far as what those construction costs would be. And I was just concerned that we would get all the stuff here and then, potentially not have the money in the approved budget to have it constructed. And so that was a piece of upping the financial ask just a little bit from the number that Rod suggested. But the other piece of it is that we are well aware that there will have to be some work done once this playground and swing are installed, just to make parking and sidewalks and things like that work well with the new play structures. The plan is to remove the playground that is closest to the tennis courts, but not to put the replacement in its place, to actually put the replacement a little bit more to the south in the trees, in that area where like the white arrow pointer is. And so there will need to be some parking close to that. I'm specifically thinking handicap, wheelchair accessible parking, close to that, and like a sidewalk to get to it, which I am hopeful that this budget will cover those things, but until we get an exact price on the installation, that was a little up in the air, at least last that we talked about it at services. So I feel so strongly that we need to continue as a community to remember that there are people in this community who don't look like us or who don't have the same mobility that we have, and anything that we can do to make sure that our community spaces are inviting and welcoming and accessible is just a huge step in promoting the health, safety, and welfare of our community and of our residents. And so I'm very, very excited about this opportunity for us.
We've gotten a lot of emails too, saying that people are for it. One resident, Betsy Verstra, said, she messaged us and said, those who are confined to wheelchairs can play instead of just watch other kids play. So I thought, a number of them kind of alluded to that, and I thought, well, that is so true. And as you guys know, I coach wheelchair tennis. And the players in wheelchairs, there's also para-standing players, amputees, and it's so good to see that we will be doing something for these kids, that they can actually play, and their parents, and do some improvements to a really nice, or what could be a nicer neighborhood park.
Well, the equipment that's there right now is about 25 years old.
Correct.
In very poor condition. The park needs to be upgraded. And Rod had said that the large structure, that's what we have at Rosewood, and they've had very, very little problem with it. That it just has served the kids well. It's fun. And they've, I don't want to say it's been damage-free, but they've had very little with it. But he was so passionate. Are you willing to come up and talk about it a minute?
So just to clarify, I just want to make sure. It's option 2 with the WeGo swing. Is that the?
It is. Sorry, I don't.
Option 2 is the double tower, like that one.
The double tower, like this one.
Okay, because they're 1 and 3, so I just want to make sure I got it.
We liked that it had so many different ways that kids could play, and some low to the ground options for littles, but also some taller options for bigger or braver friends.
Rod, why did you want this? And it is expensive. How do you justify that?
So Rosewood Park is probably one of our busiest parks. I mean, all our parks are really quite busy. Well, not all of them, but most of them. Rosewood it takes on a lot of people, and the kids seem to really be drawn to those big, tall towers. I would when I was a kid. When I built that originally, I was the builder of that one. I'd never do that again. That's too much work. But
he said that, so we increased the budget.
Throwing down that big slide. That was great fun. But I think the kids really like it. It's held up very well. I can't say we didn't have damage to it. I mean, it's getting up in years already at Rosewood. We replace as we see that it needs. I mean, some of the plastic cracks over time. We try to keep up with all that type of stuff. But it's held up very well. And in light of that, I think this would be a great option to put in there into Rush Creek Park. It's would be a big asset over there.
Why not repair the equipment at Rush Creek Park?
Because equipment gets to a certain point, you can't replace certain parts anymore. It just gets too old, and that is really too old to start trying to replace it. The paint is faded, the plastic's cracked, the decks are rusted. You know, it's like you start having to replace, then you get all piecemeal looking of a playground. You know, this part looks new and the rest of it looks 25 years old. That starts getting kind of sad. It's time to upgrade.
Okay, so for safety, this would be the way for us to go, and it's not like, because people are going to say, well, can't you repair what you have? But there could be a safety factor.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've been trying to.
We're definitely at a safety factor with that playground because we cannot tell how much rust is in underneath the rubber material that covers the decking.
Yeah.
And Rod?
Not all just the proper age children that are on these playgrounds. It's all ages are on there. So we got to be an account for that. And
it's the moms who played on that playground as a kid that are now chasing their own kids up that playground.
What's the timeline, do you think, in terms of ordering? Do you know how long it takes? When you would start demolition of the other one? And
certain parts, like the WeGo, is a ways out.
Okay.
That could be up to, I think, Justin, we said 6 months, possibly. Hopefully a lot sooner than that.
Okay.
So.
But it's reasonable to think that we would have it by next summer?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome.
I would really be pushing to get it in by this fall.
Oh, that'd be great.
Why do you recommend both of them?
We need to have some inclusivity in our playgrounds. Most of these, you know, like this tall tower, you know, it's not going to. A wheelchair is not really accessible to all of it, obviously. Parts of it, yes. So we need to include that, you know, and you can do swings, you know, regular swings. There are other items that you can use. I looked at a lot of totally inclusive playgrounds, but then you're excluding a big portion of children as well. Wheelchair-bound children, it's hard. I can see it would be really difficult to take your children out of a wheelchair to place them in a separate swing or something.
Sure.
In this, the WeGo, you can just put your wheelchair right in there, so you don't have to remove the child or the young adult, even an adult, out of the wheelchair to get in there. So it services everybody. So
yeah,
it's a very good piece of equipment.
How many years you've been doing this?
Going on 26.
I think Rush Creek is a park that's been neglected. It's one of our neglected parks. I think it's long overdue for some love. So I talked to some residents and said, did you know that there's, on the next agenda, they're talking about playground equipment. They're pretty excited. But they did say that when you're doing it, could you do the road? Apparently the road's in rough shape.
In the parking lot.
I didn't drive through it. I just took their word for it.
Yeah, it's really narrow. It's
very narrow.
Very narrow, and we do need to do something with the park.
So I think there'll be a lot of heavy equipment coming in, so it's not, I'd probably wait till after the playground's up to the board look at resurfacing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I was worried, you know, it seems to be the trend is kind of like you do a complex, so maybe we say Rosewood is going to be our playground complex, and we'll put up like 12 giant playground things. But it makes more sense to hit each individual park because residents that live by there, they said that, you know, that park, there's just not much for them. It's kind of just not as exciting as the other parks, and they don't want to drive across town to use others. So, and really, $350,000 is not bad. Coming from me, who's a tightwad, but I mean, it's cheaper than a miniature clock tower, so I love it.
I'd say be prepared to go above that if need be, based on some of the road recommendations and parking. It's possible.
Yeah, I think that may come road could be done in the next year.
Yeah.
That one rendering does have new parking in it. Could you go back to that?
Yeah.
You see right there that we have to have an access, wheelchair access to the WeGo complete. We'd probably have, what's not on there is a wheelchair access to the big, large tower playground, which probably should be added. But then you got a 5-car parking lot right there, which, again, I don't know where the numbers are going to fall with parking lot at this time for our budget here.
We could go bigger.
I'm saying, if you need to come back for more for parking or redoing that road or anything, yeah, come back for more to do those things. So I think that's going to be necessary because, first of all, I mean, that's a nice big complex to have 5 spots. I think that's even too small.
It's not far from the other parking lot. That's why
I know that other parking lot. It's super narrow. Oh, yeah.
Agreed. But just trying to keep it in the budget here. So.
And we know that park gets a ton of foot traffic too, right? Like,
all the houses right there.
Those of us who don't live there, like, know what it's like to park there. But I would say that a large majority of the patrons of that park are coming in on bikes and by foot and all of those pieces because it's right in their neighborhood. So.
Brush Creek Park serves a very large portion of our township. So all the way from south of Fort Sheldon, on up to, 36th, 40th, Baldwin, the entire area.
There's an online auction going this week. Municipalities are selling park equipment. And they've got dates that they have to remove it. So they have somebody that have to remove their own park equipment. So check out Ranger bid and find out what you get for used equipment. Somebody else can take it out for you. You don't even spend any money getting out of there.
Get a good waiver.
Huh?
Get a good waiver.
We do waivers. We do waivers.
Talk about all that, Ross.
Thank you for letting us put you on the spot.
Thank you. That was.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the consideration.
Yep.
So do we have an initial motion?
There is.
So should the motion specify option 2 and the WeGo swing? Because I think it just was a blanket statement.
Did everyone understand it to be option 2? And if not, then a clarification would be in order.
Yes.
Does anybody
Understand
think
that?
differently? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so that you guys are aware, option 3 is a fully accessible kind of jungle gym structure that we did look at that would be wheelchair friendly for the entire structure. But we felt like maybe in the future somebody would want to go that far in a different park, but for right now this felt like a good first step because we know how much our children like the tall towers too. So.
And since I made the motion, I can make a friendly amendment to it that it's option 2.
And the WeGo.
And the WeGo swing?
The WeGo swing, correct.
So when I saw that it was one brand and we weren't getting competing quotes, and I saw what brand it was, I said, I know why we're not getting competing quotes. I was home tonight after work pushing my 2-year-old grandson in my Little Tykes Cozy Coupe that we bought for my 32-year-old son. And every wheel is on it still, and it still works. So awesome. Okay. All in favor of the motion, understanding that it goes with option 2, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And it's passed. Thank you, services. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Micah, for public commenting too. That takes a lot of bravery.
Speaking of public commenting, it's second public comment. At this point, all of you are eligible to come forward and speak to the board. You have for up to 3 minutes to address us, identify name and address. And yes, go ahead and kick it off here for us.
Sorry, I meant to be here earlier. My name is Jenna Brong. I live in Georgetown Forest. We were just talking about the park. I have 3 kids there. I apologize for my tardiness. We know that spring sports right now can be crazy. Anybody that has kids or grandkids in spring sports. We moved here 12 years ago, and both of my younger children spent their first birthdays in our neighborhood. There's so much to love about Georgetown Forest. For any of our board members that have children or grandchildren, we all know that children learn through play. I'm here to speak on behalf, in support of the playground that you just approved, so I just want to say this really quick, and then I'll thank you. Play can unite children of all abilities because it transcends the ability level. Play is necessary for growth and for the development of children. Unfortunately, right now, Hudsonville Public Schools does not have accessible playgrounds for our children. Some have accessible turf, but none of them have accessible equipment. I congratulate the Georgetown Township Board for being the first in our area to have an accessible playground for all children and families in our community. Our playground should reflect our communities and should reflect the care that we have for all children and families in this community. Thank you so much for approving this
upgrade to Rush Creek Park that is desperately needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up. Welcome.
Welcome. I'm Dutch, but you wouldn't know it. There we go. So good evening. My name is Marcia Mansoray. I live in Holland Township and Zeeland Public School District. I'm the Deputy Health Officer at the Ottawa County Department of Public Health, and where I have worked for the better part of 2 decades. I have 13 days left, but I'm not really counting. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I am running as a representative, as a Democrat for the House of Representatives for Michigan. And my Christian Republican parents are probably rolling over thinking about this. But in 2022, I stared down at my ballot, and I only had one choice for commissioner, for county commissioner. And I was concerned about the choice that I had. So ethically, it was really, really important for me to say yes when I was asked to run, because I think we need at least 2 choices in November. I think it's healthy for us as a community, and it's healthy for us as a country. So that's why I'm running. Now, I'm running in the 85th district, and I believe there's my esteemed incumbent colleague who I'm running against is here, too. So you can hear from both of us. That's the district that we all live in. It includes the cities of Zeeland and Hudsonville, a small part of Holland Township where I am, and Zeeland and Georgetown Townships. My great-grandparents immigrated from the Netherlands and settled in Granville and Jenison. 2 of my great-uncles, their children, formed Zondervan Christian Publishing Company. The youngest one started the Rainbow Grill in Granville, where a couple of your colleagues, I'm not going to point out which ones, went to school with me, and we would go to the Rainbow Grill after games and stuff like that. So, and then I have multiple ancestors that worked at the Jenison Mills. I grew up in Granville, and it's an extra special treat being here tonight because I've got a couple of compadres here that I won't point out because it's been a long time since we've last seen each other. But I have roots in this area, and I raised my family here. So aside from making sure that you have another choice on the ballot, my big reason for running and what really gave me the passion to do it is because of what has happened at the county commission since January of last year. And I know it's caused division in our community, which I regret. I've learned a big lesson that local politics are critically important, and so I thank each and every one of you here for your public service. I should have been paying closer attention a long time ago. What is done here immediately affects me, immediately affects you, it immediately affects our neighbors. We're much closer to it. I've had a front row seat to the county commission situation, both as a county employee in a targeted department and as an interested resident, and I've watched the misuse of tax dollars and intentional lack of transparency and a disregard for some laws. I know those laws very well. I know how they are used and how they were misused, and that is my goal for getting to the State House. I want to address those because I understand them and I understand what it's like when they're not used well. Thank you
for those remarks, yes.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Is there anything you have that you brought or?
Any questions? I did not bring anything. It's on order, but it has not arrived.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
What's your last? I think we have a couple of others yet, yeah?
Friends, Brad Slaw, Zeeland Township, and your state representative. Just a couple of little things. Thank you for approving the traffic study. First of all, I think the residents of that community are excited about that. Sometimes we question, are we going to get what we asked for? And so maybe there's some concerns about that right at this point in time. But we'll find out how that all works out. And the first test of the new law as it has gone into place. So that's good. Next week, Monday, I'll have office hours in the greater community. So here at, I think, 2 and then 3:30 in Hudsonville and at 5:30 or 5 to 6 in Zeeland. So happy to see you if anybody comes out. The House has approved the budget, $80.9 billion for the state, which is less than what the governor's original budget is. And the Senate, I think, was going to work on approving theirs today. I've not seen the news yet to find out where their number is at. The revenue estimating conference happens on Friday this week, so nothing gets finalized until after that. But we're in process of moving the budget forward, and it is a lot of money. And then this week, I'm expecting to be in a committee meeting working on. I've got a property tax bill for the uncapping of property taxes when it's transferred to a family member. And I'm hoping to try and fix something that the courts are trying to work on, right, have worked against us, as I believe it. So, and happy to talk to you guys anytime you let me know. Thank you.
Quick question. Number one, thanks for that law with the road studies.
Yeah.
And second, I've seen that the governor has passed some sort of a clean water initiative, and I'm wondering if Justin can get with you and see if that would help us with our water line that we have to update in our township.
Okay.
I thought there was like $219 million that was being dispersed for water line upgrades. I'd like to know if that's something
in our budget that has not been approved as of yet.
It's possible, but I'd like to keep it on your radar if you could.
Will do.
Maybe we'll touch base.
Okay.
I'll send an email to Roger too.
Awesome. Good.
So, thanks.
Good. Any other questions? Thanks.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Rick Martinez. I live at 2448 Pinewood Street in Jenison. I've been a resident here for 18 years, and I've actually been to this board several times, although it hasn't been recent. I just want to let you know that I'm here tonight to represent the Georgetown Area Action Committee. Some of you might have gotten emails from us about a survey we're doing on candidates. So just to explain the committee itself, we're a group of about 200 Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, and we're here to basically extol transparency, open governance, fiscal responsibility, and we also want to have a genuine concern for everybody in our community. So we're also about great schools, and we're about being community focused and being dedicated to promoting the common good. The reason that we arose, and we've only been around for about 90 days, we just organized formally as Political Action Committee back on January 29th. So basically we arose because of the things that are happening at the county level. So we said, hey, it doesn't make sense. Government is at all levels. So we were primarily focused on the county level, but we're also extending our awareness for the greater good of the community, not necessarily for us. We're not in it. None of us we're all volunteers. We're all doing things. Everybody's like, I don't know how much more I can do. Well, everybody can do a little bit more, or they can volunteer to help in some way, shape, or fashion. So my own background, just in case you're curious, I have served on the county's compensation committee a few years back. I've also served for a DDA when I was living down in Niles. And then I'm a two-time champion volunteer for the U.S. Census Bureau right here in Georgetown Township. And I had a lot of people that were okay with seeing me, and I had a lot of people that weren't okay with seeing me. And that's okay, because it's in the Constitution. We have to count everybody. So all I'm here to ask you is, first of all, I want to thank all of you for your service, public service, and I work for the state of Michigan. It's a calling. Some of the time people like you, some of the times they don't. I get it. But I appreciate all the efforts that all of you put forward. It's not easy answering to the public. I've been answering the public pretty much in every job I've ever had, and I know that there are days it's like, as my dad used to say, well, the public has lots of wisdom, but sometimes the public is also ignorant, so you have to help them. And I'm all about helping, and that's what our group is about. Many of you have responded to our questionnaires. We will probably be extending it because we did kind of throw this together at the last minute, and we appreciate those of you who did respond to us. And also at the same time, I want to let you know that We will be, obviously, Ryan, we're doing anything we can to help you get out information about the upcoming elections, both in August and in November. And then we're also hoping to do a League of Women Voters event right here in Georgetown Township to really inform people about how the primaries work in Ottawa County. So I appreciate your time, and thank you, and I'd be glad to talk to you, any of you afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Anyone else? Welcome.
Hello, I'm John Teeples. I am the non-Ottawa Impact Republican candidate for the Ottawa County Commission representing Georgetown Township District 7. I've lived in Georgetown Township and served this community for over 30 years, including as Vice President of the Genesee Public School Board of Education and President of the Granville Genesee Chamber of Commerce. I've been an attorney for 38 years and owned my own law firm for over 20 years. I represented the city of Hudsonville for over 20 years and represented hundreds of individuals and entities, including several school districts, including Genesee, Granville, and Hudsonville schools. I've also held numerous leadership positions in West Michigan. I'm not a politician, and I have no aspirations for higher political office. In fact, against my greater interest, I'm coming out of retirement for the sole reason to help improve the chaotic mess that we find ourselves in Ottawa County under the control of Ottawa Impact leadership, and to put an end to their self-serving, impulsive, and ill-informed decisions, which have resulted in 5 lawsuits and cost the taxpayers nearly $1 million of attorney fees, employee severance buyouts, and lawsuit settlements, and to stop the needless exodus of valuable employees from county employment. I am fiscally and socially conservative, and I've had lots of litigation experience, including as a civil court mediator, and I am experienced in municipal affairs. The experience matters, especially now in Ottawa County, and I have the necessary experience and personality to do the job. As I campaign throughout the community, one of the primary concerns expressed most often is the lack of common sense decision-making by our county commission under the control of Ottawa Impact. Indeed, where is the common sense in starting 5 lawsuits, all of which could have been avoided? Where is the common sense in changing a long-established and accepted county motto from where you belong without any public notice or public input? Where is the common sense in firing a trusted and experienced county administrator and an attorney trained in municipal affairs and to hire unqualified replacements such as John Gibbs, again without any public vetting for the best and most qualified replacement candidate? And where is the common sense in not properly funding a countywide food bank program serving 45 agencies for the seniors and for the poor? As leaders, you and I should be the model of goodwill. We should lead by example with respect and kindness to show our community how leaders of diverse interests and views can treat each other and make decisions for the common good. As a community, we are good people, kind people, and people of goodwill. Instead of being overly occupied with how we are different, we should live in hope in what unites us. Let us, every one of us, put aside our anger and negative tone of our speech and actions and talk again as honorable people. We can and should do better. Let us be proud again of Ottawa County. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the second public comment period. Item 15, discussion and general information among the board. Does anybody have something they'd like to share with the rest of the board? I know I'll mention it was part of Brad and others' legislative update last week, Friday, out in Ottawa County. That was very helpful. Any board members who want to get into specifics about some of the things that are making their way through the legislature, we can talk about that, but it was very helpful and appreciated that.
I'm curious how the May 7 election went, what voter turnout was.
Pretty low. Pretty low turnout. Really low. And I remember going around each precinct, and it was a competition to see. It was clear that Hudsonville was a lot less than Jennison, because there was one middle of the afternoon only had 15 in Hudsonville, one of the precincts. So it's a very light one.
That's interesting since they both had Boundary North. Right?
Jennison was definitely a little bit busier.
Okay. But you feel like overall it went well and good.
It's nice these first two are kind of the trial runs for the next two. The next two are going to be the busy ones.
Well, thank you for all your work on that. And Amber, thank you for all your work on that.
What are special elections typically? Isn't it about 24 to 28% turnout? It's pretty low.
Yeah, I think if we're really looking, I know under 9,000 absentee ballots and right around 7,000 of them, which is a higher turnaround rate than the other jurisdictions.
Yay, Georgetown.
Go Georgetown.
So we'll have a greater number of absentee than we will in person.
At least in the special elections, yes.
Countywide was 20.6%. 20.6.
Hey, others of you, anyone?
After going through the audit and previous year audits, factoring in, the current increase of 35 and 37% water and sewer, the amount of cash we have in the bank after depleting it for the library not too long ago, four years ago, and we're already up to 13 million. New home builds continue. I would say, we average like 128 new home builds a year. No, so we'll go with my 128. 128, and then homes selling, used homes, pre-owned homes, and then getting a reset on that clock when there's a finished basement that wasn't permitted, that their taxes go up. We're seeing that increase every year, from our state revenue sharing, the tax we get. So I think it's, looking back on this year, 2 million, 2.5 water and sewer, last year 2.2, 1.1 water and sewer, 2021, 3 million general, 1.5 water and sewer. I think it's time, and I hate to do this during election year because that's probably where we can get the votes to do it, to help out our constituents when they're facing out of control inflation and struggling. I think it's time to give another $0.25 back and drop us to 2 mils from 2.25. So I would make a motion that we reduce our current millage from 2.25 to 2 mils in preparation for the next budget.
So we have a speech and a substantive motion during discussion on general information. Is this intended to make a point, or are you asking us to?
I'm looking for there's no discussion until there's a second. That's Robert's rules. Is there a second?
I'll second if it's a lowering taxes, because one of the main reasons why we didn't do it the past couple of years, first of all, there wasn't enough votes to agree with it, as well as we didn't know what COVID was going to pan out, and now we're kind of through that. Now we can see the inflation, but I personally still think that because of our net gain continuously, I think we could give a little bit and give it back to them. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, sure. The board previous to this was a part of cut it a $0.5 mil. I feel like it's prudent as we maintain the rate we're at, which is a 1.75 below where the voters approved years ago, and we're anticipating expenses as have been described with a township that's grown now from 25 or 30,000 to 55,000 the size of Kentwood, that with the inflation what it is, having out expenses that are out of our control, with whether it's increased water, sewer, or other expenses, we've already gone up by $1 million just in a period of time here of waiting to get bids on 48th. I just think it's prudent for the township that rather than giving back each a buck, which I'm being facetious, but essentially you do the math, a $0.25 mil is a little bit of a show, because the actual amount in people's pocket versus what would otherwise be paid is it's not much. And if you're going to put at jeopardy, we say that we can predict the future based on the past, but I don't think we can. I think we are in a different kind of economic time, and I see the inflation upticking. We feel it at the supermarket. We feel it in so many other ways. When I heard you say earlier tonight what the percentage was, I thought that can't be. It's got to be much more than 3 whatever percent inflation. But to me, it would be unwise with all the assets we have to maintain, the infrastructure that's aging, the increase in inflationary costs, that we would be unwise, I think, in terms of the township as a whole, to give back what would otherwise be inconsequential. Not suggesting that money doesn't matter, but the amount of money, if you do the math, you're really talking about not enough to go to dinner on, versus the safety and security of the services provided you and the maintenance and upkeep of those so that they can be enjoyed. If we're really worried about people that are not well off, you know what they can't afford? But they can't afford, I should say rather, is parks. They can afford to drive on good roads. They can walk and bike on good paths. They can have the things which we deliver as services, delivered consistently and delivered well. And so I think rather than a show vote, I'd rather see us maintain our already low tax base, which frankly is the lowest of any township or city in the entire county, including small townships like Chester, Blendon, all right. I think Hudsonville's 12-point-something mils. We're 2.25. We are sought out because of how low our taxes are. No one here is looking to raise them, but I think it would be imprudent at this point to lower them, especially during this season of time, is more of a demonstration, if you will. That's my opinion.
My question though is, it's not a demonstration when we brought it up each year.
Yeah.
It would be a demonstration if it was something that we just brought up. I mean, that Bosch just brought up now. You know what I mean? It's like, it'd be one thing if that wasn't a consistent thing.
So as you know, in August, we begin the budget process. We talk about this, correct?
Every time we ask for it, so.
Not every time.
I also feel like
every time.
Twice a year since
before the
2016.
board is supposed to, I mean, I know it's not like a hard and fast rule, but this board has very consistently waited for things to go through committee. And we have a finance committee, and this feels financial. And so it feels like a show because it didn't start in committee. If this is something that we seriously want to move forward with, then I think that the conversation should start in the finance committee. It should come to the board with a majority vote coming out of finance, and each of us should have the time to do our own research and to do our own discernment by way of it being on an agenda, versus trying to throw something into discussion unexpectedly. I just think that that's really inappropriate.
I can tell you how it's going to come out of finance.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
No, actually, there's a motion on the floor, Mr.
I struggle when you bring cutting taxes. We just had $110 million millage passed in Genesee Public Schools. It was passed 60-40. If people wanted their property taxes lowered, they would have voted that down. That is 78% of their property taxes. I'm struggling when people say, well, my property taxes are too high, and I say, how did you vote? And if you did vote, did you vote yes or no? And if you didn't vote, it's a yes vote. So if they're okay with their property tax, 80% of it, almost 80% of it, going to schools, and they vote for it, which, by the way, Genesee Public School, 20% of the students there don't even attend or don't live in the district.
Actually,
so you're building buildings for those that don't even live in the district, and everybody's okay with it. So majority rules, I'm repaying my property taxes to that system too. But I'm always interested, why is it somebody always wants to cut the township when we get the least amount of money of those taxes? And I think we actually use those taxes much more frugally than what anybody else does, whether it be the county, whether it be the schools. I look at, in the last 3 years, we spend very little money other than roads and infrastructure. But I do believe inflation is not under control. We know there's increases coming, water and sewer. which we're going to have to raise water and sewer rates. I hate to say it. Some vote against it, but you can't charge more. You can't charge less for water once you're paying for it. That's what we've been doing. So I just don't see what's that?
We make money every year if you look at our audit every year.
We make money on the year because we do hookups and we do those types of things.
Look through the audit.
We're still the cheapest of anybody in here, and we're going to burn through all that money. Hey, I'm talking. We're going to burn through all that money when we put that water line down 48th and Baldwin. It's going to be gone. There's not going to be a slush fund there to say if we got to fix something else. So we need to build up that reserve. We had the Baker-Tilly study that told us that our infrastructure is good to this point. But they also said, don't sit on your laurels because you got infrastructure that's 50 years old. It's going to need to be fixed or replaced in the next few years. You guys are in great shape, but don't sit on your laurels. And so I took that report seriously. So I think we need to be very careful that we do not just give the money back just because we think that there's too much there. I think that we need the cushion. It's called an emergency fund. Everybody should have one. And Jim's right. You cut it a quarter, you're going to give everybody $30 at the most. And to me, if they wanted money back, they could have voted down a millage. That'd have been big money coming out of your property taxes.
Yeah, and I've talked to people, and I'm like, if we lower it, you're talking maybe $35, maybe $50, and they're like, yeah, but it's my $50. I'm like, all right.
I'll give you I'll give you 50 after the meeting, and then we'll be done with it.
I'll give you the address of the resident. You can go give it to him because to him it was a lot, and I was like,
we've done a good.
We're sitting on $32 million.
We've done no. Part of that's the water sewer fund.
19 million water and sewer.
Okay, so we're not sitting on 32. That 19 million is for water and sewer. That's a restricted fund.
We were at 2.5 last year, and then we got a 35 and 37% increase. We're going to see a whole lot of profit next year, which we have to have. There's infrastructure. There's no doubt about that. So we need to identify our top 10 pipes that are going to fail and plan for the future rather than just build a pile like, well, we might do that.
So tonight you bring a motion, and you just admitted right now. We need to look at these things. So rather than
bringing them, look at it, but apparently you haven't.
No, rather than saying we should look at these things for a future motion, you come at the end of the meeting and you say, "Oh, let's cut taxes a minute," without really a whole lot of facts behind that.
Got all kinds of facts. I got the audits that I discussed. I mean, if you haven't read it, that's fine. Maybe
I have read it. I have read it.
We ran on it in 2020, but I mean, I guess it's a different time now.
Well, I think John and I are the only members of the board who've ever cut taxes here on this board. And I think when we did so,
it was 2020.
My apologies. But I'm saying...
It's offensive, but I'm not running for office.
I'm saying there was a lot of thought, there was a lot of discussion, is deserving of such. And perhaps we need to call for the vote, since, as you say, you've had a motion and a second.
It's super simple. Like, just looking at the audits, we're net gain every year. So that's the whole logic I have is, yeah, okay, it's $30, $50. $30, $50 that we are entrusting ourselves to spend when it could be in somebody else, in the taxpayer's hands. So that's the total logic in the whole thing, where I see all these audits and we are net gain each one. And it's $2 million plus. Even if you do cut that down, okay, so you net gain $1 to $1.5 million each year.
Is that what it is?
$500,000.
I don't know the exact. $500,000 is last per 0.25. So it's like, so you just net gain a 3/4 of it instead. So that was the entire logic of why we brought this up each year, and saying maybe we lessen the amount that we gain from our taxpayers each year.
If we really want to do it, send it through finance, give all of us time to talk to constituents and do our own reflection and research on it. Now is not the time now is just not the time to take action when it has caught all of us by surprise that you want to do that tonight.
It's every motion.
It's every year, but if we were in a budget process or something, that would make sense. But
the budget process is coming up here.
All right.
So what I'm going to just say is I'm going to retract my second, and I would like it on finance committee. Just have a conversation on there. I will go through the correct process.
Thank
That's
you.
fine.
I appreciate that.
So it's just again, each year we bring it up. I just want to lessen the amount that
That's
we gain
fine.
each year from our taxpayers.
I want time to think about it. I don't want to be put on the spot.
If you really care about the taxpayers, what will happen in terms of good parks for people who can't afford to go on vacation, we're really talking about those who can't afford things.
But that's
what they receive in the way of good maintenance and investment.
So we're gaining it even after we're also spending all the money on the roads and all that.
It's a value to our residents, especially those who are hardest hit.
We got money.
So I think that's a
Even after
debatable
we're
point.
spending all these things on, I mean, we're increased our roads astronomically the past 4
We've
years.
been doing
We're still gaining on each
You know if we're going to have a catastrophic event next year? Do you know?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows that.
Nobody
Exactly. To my
knew COVID
point.
was coming
That's
either,
why.
so.
That's why we have a reserve and are prudent. We have 50-year-old pipes in the ground.
Well, and I also think that I want to leave the next board in a good financial position so that whatever projects they want to go after, we're not pulling the rug out from under them. That's why when we're just a few months away from an election, it feels irresponsible, especially like having to pull all my thoughts together in 5 minutes here, but it feels irresponsible to yank the rug out from under them before they have a chance to get elected and set their priorities for the next 4 years or for the next 1 year. I want to make sure that they're able to get elected and do the things that they care about and to do the things that while they're out on the campaign trail that they're hearing from residents need to be done for Georgetown. Like we have had that, like I've had that ability, to advocate for things that I feel is important and that I hear from my community and for my connections is important. Like I've been able to do that the last 8 years, and I want the same for the next board. So I don't know that cutting the money they have to work with is going to do that.
Therein was where the problem lies. It's for the next board to decide what they want to do, and that's how we've gotten into all these situations we're in. Because we're representatives, we represent our constituents. It's not what we want. It's not walking trails for some board members and their wives. It's not a future trail to connect to Maplewood Park because, boy, that'd be cool.
I'm not saying what they want. I'm saying what they're hearing while they're out campaigning.
We just had a we've had a survey of 2,700 residents.
It's been withdrawn. We no longer have a motion before the board. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. We adjourn. Facilities afterwards.